Well, Trump's fantastic week of spectacular failures continues with today's breaking news. It's the kind of news that directly dispels the notion that somehow the 2020 election was rigged in favor of Joe Biden. Well, it not only dispels that false notion, but it spotlights the reality that the election was rigged, or almost rigged, in favor of the candidate that lost. The candidate who, still to this day, swears he won. The story that we'll dive into today is just chock full of fun details and more than a few nefarious characters. It seems that with each passing day, the wheels on the Trump presidential campaign are beginning to roll into a gutter of his own making. But this one's a little bit different. This story is different because it goes directly to the heart of the election and its legitimacy. So many people have been swayed to believe Trump was somehow a victim of election fraud. But cases like this, and subsequent cases coming up in other states, seem to indicate that Mr. Trump was not the victim he claimed to be, but instead a perpetrator. Perpetrator. It has many, many connotations, and all of them lately seem to apply to Donald Trump. So before we dig into the meat of this story, let's have a quick look at some of the backstories, some of the back reporting that brings us to this fateful day. A day that may finally unmask the lie, the calculated lie, that serves as the foundation for Trump's messianic pulpit at the woe is me house of worship. Today's news is best appreciated in context. So let's check out some of the past reporting that has led up to this moment.
There was concern that the fake elector certificates from two critical battleground states were stuck in the mail on their way to the Capitol. Quote, Trump campaign operatives scrambled to fly copies of the phony certificates from Michigan and Wisconsin to the nation's capital, relying on a haphazard chain of couriers, as well as help from two Republicans in Congress to try to get the documents to then Vice President Mike Pence while he presided over the Electoral College certification. These details come mostly from the architect of the fake elector plot himself, Kenneth Chesebro.
And then there's this revealing Chesebro chestnut with Andrew Hitt, a 2020 Republican elector and former Wisconsin Republican Party chair. Have a look at this.
He was in the room that day with you guys.
Yes, that's correct. I had to actually ask one of the RPW staffers who he was. I didn't know who he was. I hadn't talked to him, and they told me, well, that's Ken Chesebro. And oh, okay. Mark had told me, as I said in my testimony, that Chesebro had invited himself, and what are we going to do about it? Our conclusion was, well, I'm not sure there's anything we can do about it. And again, we didn't know at the time that there was these other memos. We didn't know that this guy was up to anything. We had barely talked to him.
You didn't consider saying, you're from the Trump campaign, you can't be here?
No, we didn't. I mean, hindsight again is 2020.
Hey, thanks for sticking around for the main story, the payoff. Here's how it played out today. Earlier today, Wisconsin's Attorney General filed charges against an aide and two attorneys who advised Donald Trump over a meeting of Republicans who claimed to be the state's 2020 presidential electors, even though Trump had lost the state. The Washington Post is reporting today, Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul charged Trump campaign aide Michael Roman and lawyers Kenneth Chesebro and James Trupis with one felony count each of conspiracy to commit forgery. Now, how many ways can you say felonious birds of a feather flock together without sounding like the bumper from a Penguin episode from the old Batman TV series? Well, I guess as this story unfolds, we're all left to ask ourselves, will the diabolical Donald and his duplicitous deceivers end up in the pen? Will loyal supporters flee from these fine feathered finks? Will this be the ruination of Trump's crooked campaign? The answer to these and other scheming questions tomorrow. Same Occupied Democrats station, same Occupied Democrats channel. Oh, and apologies to Burgess Meredith.